Stuart, as an experienced sales and marketing director, what's been your journey to this point?
Simon, well, where do I start? So, going right back, started off my journey as an estate agent. I think many people have started off their journey going down that road, and it was brilliant. Didn't do it for long, about a year, but a fantastic experience. And I think that really gave me the flavour for dealing with people, and it's such a people-based business, and really got caught up in the emotion of people's journey, and I think that's really important. My career progressed from there, working for BMW in a sales and marketing discipline, and then ended up joining the private sector and worked through many different types of markets and challenges along the way, and dealt with all types of buyers along the journey as well. It's been really exciting.
Excellent. And which companies have you worked with in your journey?
Worked with for Barrett PLC for many years, and for Barclay as well, and now working for Abri Group, which is in a slightly different sector. But we share the same goals and aspirations to build more homes and help solve the housing crisis.
So obviously you've had a spell in the open market sector and now in working with the Housing Association that also builds open market housing.
Yeah.
What learnings have you applied from the kind of open market experience with PLCs that you've been able to apply for HA, and what could other house builders learn from that experience, or other housing associations learn, and then vice versa? What could open market builders learn from HAs?
I think that's really interesting. And going back a step, when I was still working in the private sector, I was working in central London at the time, and you could see quite a change in dynamic in terms of housing associations and their role in delivering new homes. As we know, there's a huge need for a low-cost home ownership option, now more than ever. And over sort of the past 5 to 10 years, particularly in London, there's been a change in how housing associations have marketed their homes and sold their homes in a much more commercial fashion, without detracting from all the values of their purpose. And you could really see that in the London markets, and that's a great thing. Everybody's starting to get the message out to the people that need to receive the message much more effectively. Now, I'd been in the private sector quite some time, and that kind of dynamic was starting to move outside of the M25 into the home counties and more widely across the country as well. And I think that was a bit of a change in people's way of thinking, in terms of, look, we've got this fantastic offering to market in shared ownership, and we really need to get this to market properly. And everybody started switching on with that a bit more.
Because to that date, shared ownership was always kind of marketed almost like a second-rate product, isn't it? Typically,
I think there's always been a bit of a perception issue, sort of a legacy one. I think it's fair to say, with shared ownership, and I think there's been a huge amount of work from leading housing associations, also the National Housing Federation. They do a huge amount of work promoting awareness of the scheme, and housing associations have just switched on with, okay, we need to advertise this properly. We need to let people know that this wonderful scheme exists, and I think that's really come on massively in recent years. At Abri, we apply that approach. And we get to move people into many new homes who have reaped the benefit of this wonderful scheme, and I think we will continue to do that, and continue drilling down that focus as much as possible and spreading the awareness. And I think there's general awareness, and there's awareness through advertising as well. in the current climate, affordable homes is absolutely critical. We've got cost of living pressures left, right, and centre. People that can't afford to heat their own homes. With new homes in particular coming through, they're more sustainable, can be cheaper to buy with green mortgages, and with shared ownership, the beauty is you're only getting a mortgage on part of the property, and then renting the rest, and then buy more as you go on your journey, hopefully to own all of it one day.
So do you see a big shift, particularly with Help to Buy coming to an end now, of buyers that would previously have used Help to Buy, and with house price inflation, considering shared ownership now as the alternative? And as you say, kind of 5-10 years ago, you could see this coming. Is this now the reality, do you feel?
Well, I think Help to Buy equity loan has benefited a lot of people over the years. I think it's been a great product for many reasons, and got people onto the housing ladder. Now it's coming to an end. There's been lots of discussion over the sort of last year, if not more. What happens next? What fills that hole after the life of Help to Buy equity loan? And there's been lots of analysis around this from professionals in the industry, identifying that yes, there is going to be a gap in the market. It's kind of it's all sort of come at the same time in terms of Help to Buy equity loan ending. We've got this bump in the road in the market, I think. And I think if we're all honest, we knew there would be a bump. It's been very overheated for the last couple of years. With cost of living pressures, inflation getting hold, there was going to be a small correction and a bit of softening in the market. Now, we are starting to see some small amounts of evidence of that coming through. And I saw something from one of the leading mortgage brokers that came out just a couple of weeks ago, which actually started to show that they'd been assessing the same number of people, yet they're still getting the same success rate, but the fail rate had gone up slightly on sort of legacy sort of income levels, if that makes sense. But they'd seen an increase over the last 6 months in the average income of people applying for shared ownership.
Right.
What does that mean? Well, that is, I guess, a bit of evidence that you're seeing a bit of fallout from the open market.
I suppose income squeezed. I think
income squeezed. Yeah. People can't. Some people will not be able to buy on the open market anymore, and they're now starting to entertain a different option. And I think shared ownership is going to be that option that people look to.
I think it's interesting. So I saw a stat recently. I think it was either 42% or 48% was the new build premium over the second-hand market. And obviously with the run that we've had on property over the last couple of years, because there hasn't been that level of choice on the second-hand market, your default is then new homes. Yeah. Therefore, the new homes price is inflated, and there's kind of predictions that, and it does kind of need to narrow that gap. It can't sit at that level forever. And I suppose, in a sense, shared ownership has had a part to play in that, or do those figures not apply to? Do shared ownership units apply to the kind of the new build premium?
I think new build premium has always been quite a hard one to pinpoint exactly what that is. It can vary geographically and depending on the type of placemaking that a scheme might be delivering as well, and who's developing the scheme. I think in terms of where we stand today, the new build market, new homes, they offer a lot to buyers. And actually, when the market becomes very challenging like it is now, the resale market can get a bit clogged up. It can get a bit trickier. When you've got lots of chains involved, there's more things that...
So there's lots of situations changing.
There's lots of situations changing, particularly with the mortgage market at the moment. There's many things that could fall out of bed, essentially. New build is a bit more of a stable platform in terms of, when your property is going to be ready. You can get better rates on mortgages with green mortgages, and that's becoming more and more. And your energy bills are going to be lower. So when you weigh it up, if you can get yourself into that new build position, there's lots to shout about. And I think in terms of your daily running costs, they're going to be much, much lower. So I think that there's lots of pros there.
So do you feel shared ownership is the future then for first-time buyers?
I think it's definitely going to be a big option. I think there will be, after equity loan, we've seen over the years that there's many different schemes that the government will pull together to try and keep that home ownership alive for as many people as possible. We know that we have an undersupply of homes. We've got to keep building, but at the same time, we've still got to have those mechanisms to get people onto the ladder. So there's always a bit of creativity when it comes to those government-backed schemes. So I think we'll probably see something again in the future when I don't know and nobody knows. I think shared ownership will absolutely play a bigger part, particularly in the short term, while we see these slightly higher mortgage rates, inflation pressures, affordability being absolutely key to everybody. And it'll probably, again, perception of it is much more positive than it's been for a very long time. And I think, at the end of the day, it's a home like any other home. It's just a different way of buying that home. And I think there's lots to say for that. I think there'll always be a mix of options for buyers. And we welcome that. We need as many options as we can to get as many people into new homes, new warm homes that are sustainable and affordable as possible. So if there's new schemes that can support that, I can't see why anybody wouldn't welcome that.
So short of the planning process, if you could change anything about the current state of the market, what do you feel is broken?
Look, I think there's a multitude of things going on at the moment. There's lots of challenges. We've had a very changeable political environment, I think we're all astutely aware of, which has catalysed our current inflation situation, the economic pressures. We need a bit of stability around that. We need to get inflation under control. That just plays into everything else. We need to keep affordability at the forefront of all of our decision making. There are so many people that need to get onto the housing ladder. And we just got to keep a really good eye on, that we are building quality homes that are sustainable, ready for the future. Because it always a sort of a future issue. You don't know what you're planning for in terms of regulation change, say 10, 15 years ahead. But we all know that we've got a high net zero carbon agenda, and we need to continually target that and do everything that we can in the development environment to try and get to that goal. Abri, as it stands, we've got 40,000 homes and 100,000 customers already. As we're increasing our customer base, we need to make sure that we're reinvesting into our current stock, and that the new homes that we're having coming through, that we're getting that right. And we're very passionate about that.
So what's your housing target for Abri at the moment?
So, we have a strategic objective of 12,500 homes by 2030. We're a strategic partner of Homes England with £250 million worth of funding on the programme running up to 2026. Look, our position, we are still ambitious. We are still fulfilling our pipeline. We have a healthy pipeline. And that's a mixed tenure pipeline. And I think the beauty of our strategic partnership and working very closely with Homes England is we have the ability to do more. And we want to keep our foot on the gas in that respect. We can deliver, whether it's social rent or affordable rent homes, whether it's shared ownership or open market sale, we will continue to push to try and get the whole mixed tenure. Why do we want to do that? Because particularly with the open market, we then use that cross subsidy to fund our existing stock, etc. So, and reinvest into the organisation. For the future, I think one thing that has really changed over the last 10 years, and I think over the next 10 years, is the whole focus on partnerships and collaboration. That really unlocks so many opportunities.
So, we spoke earlier about the perception of housing associations historically. For these respected house building brands, how do you deal with the kind of brand association between the housing associations and the brands? Do you feel now that they're at a point where actually that stigma is now gone, and actually it's very respectable to be partnered with a HA on a project, do you still feel that there's kind of a conflict there?
Look, I think everyone views things very differently now. I think everyone is very, very aware that the key to doing more and ability to do more, you can do it in strength with other people involved. And I think the dynamic of having sort of a registered provider such as Abri involved will unlock opportunity. We are, from our side of the fence, we are very, very passionate about only working with people that do share our values. We're a values-based organisation, and we need to make sure that we're delivering new homes with partners that share our ambitions and our values and focus on our, aligned with our key objectives. So, being with the right partners is also very important to joint success. But ultimately, everybody has the same target, same objective. We want to build more homes and quality. And
can smaller house builders partner up with Abri as well?
Yeah, absolutely. SMEs are as important, and we need to support SMEs across the south of England, particularly in more challenging market conditions. And we work with several, and it's great. And yes, the dynamic is a bit different from a volume house builder, for example, than to an SME. But again, we all have the same objectives.
And I suppose the interesting thing there is, the backing that you and the funding that you have from central government or from Homes England, and the values that you have and the reach that you have, you have the ability really to be the lifeblood for a lot of, I suppose, ultimately your competition, in terms of kind of supporting them and, being the partner that perhaps makes a scheme viable that wouldn't be otherwise. Yeah. Do you feel that kind of going forward, that's a model that is only going to, become more dominant as cost of finance increases and land opportunities become more scarce? Obviously, big focus on sort of brownfield development, and with you guys, the kind of in brownfield development is notoriously risky, but with you, your knowledge and the technical experience and a lot of people have been pulled from the private world into the housing association world with all of that knowledge. Yeah. Do you feel now that really the housing association will become the kind of backbone to support a lot of these sort of smaller house builders as well as building out with the largers?
Well, look, I think you're absolutely right. To your point on skills and expertise, if you've got more skills and expertise in the room, you're going to end up with a better outcome. And I think that's really important. I think we all share the same mutual goals. We need to, brownfield is more complicated, it is more challenging. However, we do need to focus on brownfield because, that's where many opportunities lie to regenerate local communities. And, those kind of scenarios, it's even more important that you have a partnerships-based approach. because costs are likely to be higher. You need to make sure that everybody understands your mutual goals. And we've got schemes that we're delivering now. For example, the Old Brewery in Bristol. That's a very partnerships-led scheme. And that's a superb mixed tenure scheme with shared ownership, with social rent, and also commercial units coming through as well. So that's right in the hub of an existing community, a strong community. And what we're doing across our geography, Abri's operating geography, is, we are a big organisation, but what's absolutely critical is that we do keep that local focus. And we keep that local focus in our key operating areas in Windsor, Southampton, and down sort of in Dorset, around Yeovil. So, and moving up to Bristol. So we will always, that's our hubs of our communities and where our customers lie. And we need to make sure that we can invest into those communities as effectively as possible. And we have a multi-million program of investment underway to make sure that we are doing the right things and focusing on the right things with our communities, as well as bringing through the new opportunities. We look at, okay, where does that lie? How does that fit in with our large but local focus? So that's always going to be really important.
We have a number of clients, smaller house builders, who perhaps can't compete with nationals on the size of land.
Yeah.
But for them, a partnership with a housing association like Abri might be quite appealing to them. So if they're building, like 10, 15, 20 units, are those size sites still viable for a partnership?
Yeah, absolutely. And supporting small to medium-sized enterprises in developing those smaller brownfield opportunities is really, really important. And partnerships, works for them as it works for us. We need to support smaller communities as well as larger communities. So, there's lots of benefits to different walks of life. One example, we work with a company called AJC. Great example. We've got a site in Hazelbury Bryant in Dorset, which is literally just coming to be handed over. Fantastic scheme. In a very small community, but much needed affordable housing. And we've got another scheme with the same developer coming through in Poole. And that's one great example. We work with many.
So it's a good example of how once you create a relationship with a contractor or a house builder, how you can grow that relationship beyond just the exactly. one site.
And look, we understand, any organisation that we go into partnership with or collaboration with, they need to share our same vision, our same values, our same approach, and ambitions to do more and do it right. That's really important to us.
So looking forward, to the next decade, where do you feel that the market will change? Where do you feel that shared ownership will become more dominant? What are your predictions?
It's hard, isn't it? I think we've learned over the last couple of years, predictions.
Where's your crystal ball?
are tricky. Especially through the pandemic. But look, I think partnerships are going to continue to be absolutely critical. We have a housing crisis. That's not going to go away anytime soon. We need to keep building more homes. We need to be more clever about it. We need to be more sustainable in our approach. And we need to keep that focus. Collaboration is key. Working with local authority partners, developer partners, whoever it may be, to unlock those opportunities. Affordability is going to continue to be a strain on many. But if we get that low-cost energy solutions, sustainability, we get that side of things right, that helps with people's affordability as well. So there are many, many things that we need to do, and the challenge is aligning those agendas to make sure that we can do it well. Strength in numbers achieves that. Just recently, you can see there's been sort of Vistry Countryside have obviously come together. There's other mergers that have taken place in the marketplace. Why? Because you get more financial strength, the ability to do more and do more well.
And So you've been in the industry for quite some time. Where, from a marketing point of view, how have things changed substantially? And what are you doing today that's different to what you were doing even like 3-4 years ago that's helping you to progress?
So I think the biggest thing in my career I've noticed is, marketing is very data driven now. It's a very different approach. You need to be clever. You need to be able to interpret that data. What does it all mean? Now, I'm very passionate about, you need your marketing to feed your sales. You need to generate good quality leads. Now, there are so many digital avenues these days, and things change so fast. You've got to keep abreast of that changing environment. So if you're up to speed with, where you need to position yourself, you need to understand your target market effectively, and the demographics of, to make sure, that you're doing all the right things and speaking to, a nice wide, broad audience. That's the biggest thing that's changed. You just got to be a lot more clever.
I suppose the ability to understand
you need to,
who your target market is now is so much better, isn't it? And so going forward, if you were to kind of look, if there was one thing that you thought, it'd be great if I could only do that, short of being able to kind of pinpoint that buyer, and we need to get to that point ultimately where we know who's buying and you can say to them, this is match them with their property. Are there any kind of like little, what would you like to see? What would you like to see from a marketing point of view that would help you in your role?
I think that the challenge is always, there's demand. We know there's huge demand out there, and we're always going to have demand. It's about reaching that demand, and it's about reaching that demand with, yes, the right marketing tools, but stepping back a little bit earlier in the process in terms of where you're building those new homes and how you place make that scheme. That's really important. You've got to create somewhere where people want to live and that they should be allowed to live feeling safe in a warm, sustainable home. That's the start of the journey. If you get that right, then down the line, we'll deliver what we've committed to. And then your marketing and your sales will overlay with that.
So placemaking is a big focus then for, particularly for private developers. They're placing a huge focus on that, which perhaps wasn't there previously, recognising that competition is stiffer and that people now want to belong to a community.
Yeah.
And that's a real shift from previous years. Do you feel that's something that as Abri you're kind of exploring, or is it something you're currently doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And placemaking, it's not a new term. It's been around for a long time, but I think people's focus on it is becoming more and more because there is choice out there. It's a very competitive environment. But I think people are far more in tune with the desire to create a legacy community, and that's really important. Abri are absolutely focused on that, and we have a very substantial land-led program, i.e. we buy our own land and we can design our own schemes and deliver them, which is brilliant because we can really deliver on our ambitions, coupled with going back to the whole partnership side of things and collaboration. We've got 3 joint ventures running at the moment with Thacum, really strong developer, quality-based, sustainability focused, with Vistry partnerships down in the south as well. Another great scheme, and we've got another one coming through in Weymouth with Lovells. So 3 quality partners. A great example of placemaking and one of the best I've seen is our joint venture partnership with Thacum Homes in Pease Pottage. Woodgate, the destination there, which is just over 600 new homes. Abri is a joint venture partner down there, And, it's been a fantastic journey with Thacom. And the whole placemaking side of things, it's so evident there. You've got a new school within the site. You've got a community hub that's just coming to being handed over. That's very close. You've got a new care home. You've got lovely big green open space. It's a great new destination for everybody. It's a new community. And I think that's a great example that if you go into the detail and you want to do it, you can really deliver on it.
So with a development like that with Thacom, that's quite a responsibility. You're building a school, community hub, and you've got to sell a lot of houses. What's the approach when you're building, you've got an unknown entity as far as a buyer is concerned? What's the kind of approach to selling that dream?
Yeah, I think it comes back to when you're at the beginning of that journey and looking at the opportunity. You're looking at that opportunity with a partner or partners that you can collaborate with. It comes back to, are they the partners that you want to collaborate with? Can we deliver a really community focused scheme, placemaking at its heart, all to make that incredible environment for the customer? And we know that when we're sitting down looking at that vision, we'll be like, look, we can do this. It's going to vary on opportunity to opportunity, of course. You can't do everything everywhere. It's just not possible. But as long as those ideas are on the table and that conversation's happening, you're always going to think about doing more. And I think if the desire's there, and the will, and you're working with people that share that same ambition, I think you can make these things happen, and you can realize those dreams. Peas Pottage is an absolutely superb example of that. I think it's one of the best placemaking examples in the south of England, and it's been incredibly popular. 600 homes. You've got a community facility. We're working with Plunkett Foundation, a charitable organisation, to sort of self-run the community shop that will be there. And you've got a school and lots of open space and walks and everything. It ticks everybody. It's an absolutely superb place to live. And that's the kind of legacy that we should be aspiring to deliver.
Excellent. So where do you feel at the moment in the sector? Is there any regulation that you feel, if there's one thing I could change, it would be that? Where do you feel regulation's holding your sector back?
Big question. Look, I think we've learned in recent years that regulation can change quickly. Political environment has changed a lot. We need to keep abreast of those changes. And, it is a challenging planning environment. There's less land to go for. And when everyone's competing for that same land, it can become quite challenging. We've all got the same aspirations. That tucks back into the partnerships approach, because then you can join up with people and do more and deliver. Look, I think we don't have a crystal ball in terms of what's coming in the future. I think one real big key thing is, sustainability, net zero carbon. We all want to get to that goal, and we'll continue that drive on that journey. The Greener Future partnerships that Abri is part of with several other leading housing associations, those kind of collaborations and working groups are really key on making sure that we stay consistent in our drive, working with government to really drive that agenda. And we just got to try and really future-proof our homes as much as possible. We are committed to making them safe, sustainable, warm. You want to try and avoid having to go back and retrofit as much as possible. It's incredibly expensive to retrofit. If you can get it right as much as you can first time, that's a much better outcome. But you don't know what you don't know in 20 years' time, which is always going to be the challenge. I think as long as we talk, we keep talking to everybody who's involved, get people continuously around the round table. and for Abri, that we're out there letting people know about who we are, what we stand for, our ambitions, we can keep delivering. And that's really important.
Excellent. So to close, one surprise question for you.
Okay.
You are looking to buy a new house. You're going to go on a viewing of that house. Anybody can do that viewing. Does my wife know? She can do. So anybody can do that viewing. Anybody could be a celebrity. It could be a family member. You're going to spend an hour with them. They're going to show you around the house, show you the rooms. You can sit and have a chat with them on the sofa. Who would you pick to do that tour and why?
To take me on the tour?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big question.
Anyone you like.
Okay.
Have you got a particular hero?
Wow. God, that is a big question. You know what I find very entertaining? Kevin MacLeod.
Okay.
I think his shows are great. I think it really puts in the limelight the realms of possibility. And I think it's very interesting to understand what can be done if you really put your mind to it. And I think that's really important. And you can take that and apply it to everything in life.
So I'm guessing you'd be buying like a doer-upper then if you went with Kevin MacLeod, and he would be saying, this is what I do here and this is what I do here.
Probably.
Getting all of his free inspo.
Yeah. And then still be looking at it in 5 years' time.
Very good. Look, Stuart, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and wisdom. You know, you've got a huge amount of experience, and really appreciate having you on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.